So we're going to get started. So we're done with our alphabet. And now, I'm going to just be teaching on different things that I feel like, the Lord's putting on my heart to study. So hopefully you all will enjoy this. We just commemorated Tisha B'Av, where the temple had been destroyed. The next thing that happens on our calendar is Tu B'Av. And so today we're going to be learning everything about Tu B'Av. So let's go ahead and start out with prayer. If you all will join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, everlasting King, who sets us apart by his establishments and established us on words of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, everlasting King, who sets us apart by his establishments and established us to engage and strive with words of Torah. Amen. So we're studying Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av. So that's what the TU stands for. Tu B'Av, okay, the 15th of Av. So the celebration of the 15th of Av, actually, I'm going to give you all the historical parts first, okay? So the celebration of the 15th of Av began in the year 1274 BCE. Israel had been disciplined by God to wander in the desert for 40 years. Because of the negative report from the scouts or the spies, the people complained about entering the land. So in Numbers 14:2, it says, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we might die in this wilderness. Then Numbers 14:35 says, in this very wilderness they shall die, and so be finished off. So Tu B'Av marks the day when God forgave Israel for the sin of not trusting God because of the report that they received from the scouts. So they trusted more what their eye could see instead of trusting God and all the miracles he had shown them in Egypt, and the plagues and everything, all those miracles of the giving them water, giving them the everything, and yet they still trusted more what the scouts said and the bad report they gave instead of trusting God. So on Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, the decree was annulled. Rabbi Levi said, on every eve of the 9th of Av, during the 40 years when the Israelites wandered in the wilderness, Moses used to send a herald through the camp and announce, go out to dig graves. They'd go out, they'd dig graves, and the people would actually sleep in them. This is what Rabbi Levi says, okay? In the morning, he would send someone out again, a herald, and say, separate the dead from the living. They would arise and find their numbers diminished. Some of them had passed away. In the last of the 40 years, they did this, but found themselves undiminished. Nobody was dying. So they said, we must have mistaken our counting. We maybe our counting's wrong. Maybe our calculations are wrong. So they did the same thing on the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 13th, 14th, and the 15th, but still no one died. When the moon was full, which is the 15th, When the moon was full, they said, it seems that the Holy One has annulled the decree from all of us. So they made the 15th a holiday. That's in Lamentations Rabbah, the prologue 33. So basically, it became a festival because it was like, hey, God has annulled the decree. Nobody's going to die anymore. God has forgiven us for speaking out against God's uh, uh, against what God said he was going to do and believing what the spies or the scouts had said. So it's on the 15th of the month. So we know that the first of the month, the new moon is the darkest time of the month. Okay. So you can kind of look at Av in this way. Here's all this darkness at the beginning of the month, right? And it's not just the darkness of the lack of the shining of the moon, but it's also the horrible stuff that had happened at Tisha B'Av and the destruction of the temples. Okay, we see and we know that the moon gets brighter and brighter and brighter. That light is like increasing our hope. So on the full moon of the 15th of Av is the festival of the joyful expectation of redemption, because on Tu B'Av, the women are all excited and they're hoping for a ketubah. Maybe, as we'll learn later on, maybe someone will want to marry me, okay? But it's also redemption from what had happened at Tisha B'Av, okay? Also, it is the atonement from the 9th of Av. So the 15th of Av highlights the culmination of the calamities that blemish the painful, mournful beginning of the month of Av. And it gives us this hope, this joyful hope, okay, that's everywhere, because the dark has just gotten brighter and brighter until it's just the fullness of Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av. So we know in Judaism that we are the moon. We are a picture of or rather the pictures, the moon is a picture of us, where the sun is a picture of God. Okay, so the moon is a picture of Israel, and the moon is completely exposed on the 15th to the sun's light. That's why it's so bright, because the sun is just completely illuminating the moon. Okay, so the light gets brighter and brighter. Well, as it's gotten brighter, it's also showing that we have no light of our own. The moon has no light of its own. The only light it has is from the sun. But that's just like us. We have no light of our own. The only light we have is from God. So too, we're showing all of our pockmarks, all of our frailties, all of our everything that's wrong with us. Okay, we're exposed completely, our true selves, because the sun is just shining on us. The brightness is hitting us, but yet God still loves us. So during the time of the wandering in the desert, I gotta say something real quick. I put that picture of a ring because that's actually a wedding ring from a Jewish woman, and I just thought it was so gorgeous because the ancient wedding rings were just so amazing. They made them look like a beautiful house that was built. It was just, they were so beautiful. Anyway, during the time of wandering in the desert, female orphans, this is from Talmud Ta'anit 30b, female orphans without brothers could only marry within their tribe to prevent their father's inherited territory in the land of Israel from passing on to other tribes. This was a ruling following the incident of the daughters of Zelophehad, whose father had no son. He had no sons. So the land went to the daughters of Zelophehad. The separation of marriages between the tribes also pertained to the fact that no one wanted to intermarry with the tribe of Benjamin. And we can read that from from Judges 19:22. There had been a rape that had occurred, and when it was found out that the rape had occurred, the man cut the woman up and sent it to all parts of her, to all of the different tribes, so that they would be aware of what had happened. It created a horrible rift, and they actually were going to go battle, with Benjamin, with the tribe of Benjamin, because of this horrible thing that had happened. It's like, this is wrong. And nobody wanted to marry any of the men of Benjamin because of this horrible thing that had happened. So all this time, nobody's marrying into Benjamin. But the ban was lifted on Tu B'Av, and intertribal marriage was allowed. It serves as a day for matchmaking, for weddings, for proposing, and renewal of vows. So that is the history of it, but it's also what's happening once again in Israel. So, what happened? Let's pretend this didn't move. Okay, so the time between the 9th of Av and Elul, that time right between the two things, okay, those two dates is Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av. So Tu B'Av is a holiday that's celebrated with dancing and choosing the love of one's life, and the holiday that truly shows hope for the future, because usually when there's marriage, there's children, and it's like, Israel will continue to grow. The women would go out and they would dance in the vineyards. The Talmud in Ta'anit 31a says, whoever lacked a wife would go there to find one. It was almost obscure as a celebration for a long time, okay? But it's being restored now. It's a minor holiday, and in Israel now, it's like a day of romance, a day of love. Okay, it's almost seen like a Valentine's Day. And that picture shows all the women, they dance in a circle, and they're dancing and they're joyful, and they're all wearing white. So choose who will become your wife. According to the Talmud, now there's, you can see the three pictures. The one on the top left shows the very ancient times, and then at the bottom, and the picture on the right-hand side, they do performances now, and the women, they're still doing it. They're wearing all white, and they pretty much try to all dress exactly the same, okay? So according to the Talmud, Tu B'Av was a day when women went out in borrowed white clothing to dance in the field. There were the vineyards, okay, and choose spouses from among the men who came to dance with them. They wore borrowed clothing, so as not to shame any woman who didn't have, fine white dress or fine white clothing. It would be kind of like, just everything, all the white clothes would be there in a pile all together, and everybody would get from that group of clothing. And it was amazing because they did this so that you wouldn't look and go, oh, look at that dress is you can tell it's very expensive, so she must be rich. Or, oh, look at how awful that dress is, has got a hole in it. Oh, they're probably very poor or whatever. So they tried to make it so that everybody was on the same level. Everybody's wearing, the white, and they would just borrow from each other, and that way no one could tell who was rich and who was poor. And while they're dancing and everything, they would sing to their potential lovers, telling them to choose goodness and integrity rather than good looks. This is from the Babylonian Talmud, Ta'anit 26b and 31a. Now, this is really important. And I didn't put it down because I just thought it was so funny. But it was like the rich girl would say, well, don't look at the money, or don't, and then a pretty girl would, don't look at this, and the ugly girl would say, oh, don't look at this. But they had it like broken down, like, don't look at these things. But the most important thing was, try to see the person inside. Don't see what's on the outside. And we know in I believe it's in Proverbs, where it says, beauty fades, it disappears, it's gone. Choose and look for what's inside of a person. Look for, who they are, who they truly are inside. Kind of like the moon that has that full light, and you can see all the frailties, all the pock marks. You can see all the imperfections, but God still loves Israel. It's the beauty that's within. So Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel says, the Israelites had no greater holiday than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, on which occasions the maidens of Israel used to go out in the white garments, borrowed so as not to put to shame one who didn't have a white garment. These garments were dipped in a ritual bath to purify them. And in them, the maidens of Israel would go out and dance in the vineyards. The men would go there, and the maidens would say, young man, lift up your eyes and see what you will select. Do not pay attention to beauty, but to the one of good family. Consider who you choose to be your wife. So there we see that it was considered one of the happiest, one of the greatest holidays. And, as Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur, we're seeing the atonement. Our sin has been forgiven. Well, so too on the 15th of Av, it was seen as like that atonement for what had happened at Tisha B'Av and the two temples being destroyed. But it was also, like the growth, that there will still be life. There's life. The sorrow came, but now there's going to be life, because you're married, you're going to have children. Israel goes on. We will continue to grow. We will continue to live. So what does all of this show us about the Messiah or his kingdom? So we see that the women were dancing and celebrating in the vineyards. Israel, it is a picture of Israel, because the vineyard is Israel, okay? And it's a picture of Israel soon to have their husband, God. It was also a time of the grape harvest that we began to see. During this time, it was the time of the grape harvest, when some of the grapes would fall and that the grape would open up and the seed would be shown. So you're kind of seeing the women dancing around, and they're dancing, and they're, calling to the man, and they're, it's like, hey, who wants to get married? But it's a picture of Israel saying, God, I can't wait to be married to you. Here I am, I'm coming back. So Isaiah 5:7 says, The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the nation of Israel, and the people of Judah are the vines he delighted in. Jeremiah 31, 3 through 5 says, the Lord appeared to him from afar, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with loving kindness. I will build you up again, and you will be rebuilt, O Virgin of Israel. Again, you will take up your tambourines and go out to dance with the joyful. Again, you will plant vineyards in the hills of Samaria. The farmers will plant and will enjoy their fruit. So, anavim, which is a word for grape or grapes, anavim. Grapes are also a symbol of the fruitfulness of the Jewish people and the land of Israel. The grape during Tu B'Av, it almost always plays a role of the bridge between the horrible thing that happened at Tisha B'Av, the sadness and everything, the grief, and the great joy of the atonement that God provides for us at Yom Kippur, but also like an atonement on Tu B'Av. So we look at the grapevines growing, and we have grapevines. I don't know if any of you all have grapevines, but when you look at a grapevine growing, it's so amazing to see how the vine kind of weaves in and out. You know, you put a trellis up and you see the vine growing in and out. And I thought of that it was amazing because you look at that and it's almost as if the vine itself is dancing along the trellis, moving in and out of spaces, like the life of every Jew in the world throughout time, that it's like, I gotta go here, I gotta go here, oh, you know what, I'll fit in here, maybe I'll fit in this other place. And you make your home, and you always have to be ready to move. You always have to be ready because you don't know what the surroundings are going to be like. So the women, they're dressed in white, and it's a picture of the purity. Remember, it said that the dresses, they were purified, they were washed, specially. Okay, they were washed. Well, it's a picture of purity and of being washed. We ourselves as being washed and gone through the mikvah into Torah. So God is the husband rejoicing in the fact that finally his beloved has returned to him, so that the two shall become one. So, I really want you to picture this woman. I thought the picture in the middle really looked cool because it has the woman and she's, dancing around, and, it's like purple. I know it's not the grapevines, but it just made me think, God, that's how it would have been. It would have been just so beautiful to see them dancing around the different grapevines and the trellises and singing and, just being joyful. But it's a picture of them weaving themselves in and out of the grapevines, like a picture of Israel, showing God, I'm here. I've returned to you. I've returned to you, so that we can finally come together. So, I thought about all the different songs that I read were sung. And, it's like, oh, come over here. And, I'm like, I wonder what they really sang, oh, come over here. And I thought about one of the most famous songs, most well-known, okay, in Israel. And I know we sing it sometimes, Od Yishama, but it goes, I wasn't going to sing. You guys want to sing with me? You want to join me? But it goes, Od Yishama ve'arei Yehuda uvehutzot Yerushalayim. And then you repeat it, and then it's Kol sason ve'kol simha, kol hatan ve'kol kala. And it's repeated again. So the translation is, yet again, there shall be heard in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. Jeremiah 33, 10 through 11. And, you know, I picture that, or Tu B'Av, and that once again, there is a voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. And it is a picture of God and the bride finally coming together, finally rejoicing in that unity and the joy that will come when we are, you know, reunited fully with the Lord in that day. But looking forward to it, always looking forward to that day in everything we do. And I just put pictures up of our wedding because, you know, it's like, I guess I won't do any copyright here. But the one at the bottom right shows when they lifted us up and we were singing this song, and it was just so joyful because it's like, you know, you're in a wedding, what happens? You're being lifted up. You, as they're dancing with you, they're lifting you up as if, you know, you're in the heavens. So today in Israel, Tu B'Av is actually being called more and more Hag HaAhava, the festival of love. Okay, so in today's society in Israel, okay, we know that there's many proposals that happen. There's a lot of betrothals that are happening. It's a real season of weddings during this time also in Israel. And like I said, it's recognized as a festival of love. And you know, there's some congregations here in the United States and around the world that are really trying to bring back, you know, the beauty of having the women go out and dance in their white dresses, and that way, you know, it's like, hey, we're like-minded. I'm in this let's say congregation. I'm in this congregation, you're in this congregation. We think alike, and that's the most important thing. We have the same heart for Israel, and they're trying to really, I don't want to say reinstate, restore. They're trying to restore that festival more and more in the U.S., in Israel, you know, and throughout, because it is so meaningful. Because, you know, it will be a time of joy, because it will be a time when we have reunited, we have joined ourselves to God. So, you know, like I said, I know we just went through Tisha B'Av. So, you know, now we start getting our mind set on thinking about Tu B'Av. You know, I don't know if we're going to do anything this year in our congregation, but I just thought that would be so fun if it was some kind of a celebration so that we can honor God and really be thinking about, you know, our marriage to God, our unity with God, and our unity with Israel as a whole. So that's all I have for today.